Back again for another video. So I was in the chat room over at Game Changers, and I was having a conversation with the guys in the chat. A lot of people didn't respond to anything I had to say because I'm not really debated that much, I guess. But anyways, this discussion was partly about how to vet a woman for her level of submission. And it was also said that men don't understand what submission look like. They fall for some fake submission. So I'm here to give my take on that, because once again, that's my area of understanding. So when it comes to a woman's submission, it can manifest in many ways, but my vetting process is one, I guess you can say, that is not it's not common. It's one that isn't widely accepted for vetting a woman, because it is taboo in itself. But that's the intention of the vetting process. It's the individual process in which one takes to see what there is that a woman has to offer. And my vetting process, I'll tell you my secret, is simply polygamy. The reason why I choose that as a vetting process is because it hits many areas. I am one who likes to use one thing for many purposes, and this is that tool that I use. When it comes to the polygamy part of it, I'm very headstrong and firm in my principles and my belief system when it comes to how I approach this subject. I researched a lot about it. I understand a lot about it. I understand the mechanics. I understand the emotional parts of it, the financial, economic parts of it. There are not many things that I haven't considered, because I've had these conversations many times with many people. So therefore, I hash out a lot of the oppositional rhetoric that comes against what I believe in. So I've come to a fine point of understanding of how this works. But one thing that's for certain when it comes to polygamy, this is not even necessarily saying that I would approach a woman and expect, well, I do expect it, but when we start engaging in our relationship, I may not ever find another woman that I would want to include in our circumstances, our situation, our relationship. She could be the woman that meets all the requirements that I need from a woman. Simply as that. Although I need to have that option on the table because it is part of my vetting process, and it is also it helps part of my nature, and it also helps things out economically from my standpoint when it comes to the structure that I have in mind about how I would place women if I would have more than one. So when it comes to, like I said, polygamy is a multifaceted tool for me. But how it weeds women out, right? It's because women have to accept being outside of the social norm and social expectations of others when they accept polygamy. Because especially within the Black community, this is not something that is commonly accepted from men and women, because a lot of men are programmed by a woman's desire, and women desire to be selfish in a lot of the things that they do, overtly. Covertly, not so much. We all know the story behind that one. But when it comes to polygamy, it requires a woman to die a social death. And it's even better if a woman is already accepting and understands what polygamy represents and is accepting of a man who will require that from her. That's even better because she has self-inflicted her social death. I would say that's the only one that is higher than a woman that is willing to accept it, who has never been introduced to it before. because there are a lot of things that she had to come to terms with beforehand that you don't necessarily have to explain. Whereas with the woman who has never met such an idea, then that woman, you would have to, give her the rules and regulations of how to abide by in this relationship, and what her expectations should be of it, and what your expectations are of her. So that is, wholly my vetting process. Well, not wholly. That is my initial vetting process. My secondary vetting process is to weed out the women who agree to it, but don't actually wholeheartedly agree to it. Meaning, these are women that desire me so much that they are willing to put themselves through something that they consciously objectify, but they aren't telling me that. That's the thing about a man staying on his principle. When a man stays on his principle, he can weed these women out, because as long as he stands firm in his belief system, the women who try to fake it till they make it will burn out. Because if you remain a rock as a man, then this goes for damn near everything. I mean, you could want your woman to dress up as a clown every day. I mean, as long as you stand firm in it, you will weed out the women who don't want to dress up as a clown for the rest of her life. Like, that's kind of how it works. It doesn't matter how ridiculous your standards are, but you as a man, you should have standards, and you should stick to those standards and requirements that you have of the women, and also yourself. You should definitely have standards of yourself. You should always be in competition with the previous you and the future you. Always. Those the only two people in this world, or on this plane of existence, that you should be in competition with, because they're the only people that you can effectively compete with. I said that in a previous video. I made a whole video about it. But going back to the principalities of it, this will help you, like I said, weed those women out, because they will naturally bow out. That's just how it happens from my experience. I've met women who I've told this is my belief system. If you're with it, cool. If you're not, cool. But they'll try to fake it till they make it. And then it's almost like the person that goes into the gym and says, "Oh yeah, I can bench 250, no problem. 10 reps, no problem." They go down. Y'all go to the gym. You go down. You know what I mean. You spotting or whatever. He does about 2, and then he buckles out, because the weight is unrealistic for what he's capable of doing. And this is how it works when you're staying, because that weight is standing firm in what it is. It's not changing. It's the 250. It's not changing. That weight is going to be exactly what it is. And that is the test. You as a man have to remain solid. You have to remain that 250. If you lighten that load, she's going to adhere to it more and more and more. So you have to stand firm in your principles and your belief system. Otherwise, you're going to get women who are faking it till they make it, and they can fake it. Believe me, you can fake benching 100 pounds versus 250 a whole lot easier. So don't lighten your load. Don't lighten what you require of a woman just because she looks good or she's got a fat ass, etc. Like, don't do that. That's where a lot of men fall faulty. But anyway, back to what I was saying. That's my vetting process, because this is the way I see it. The biggest, I've been in several relationships. The biggest problems that I've had within relationships necessarily didn't come from our interactions being poor. It came from her I guess you can say, meeting the expectations of society. That was the problem. So if a woman is able to die a social death, then she is able to guard herself and guard you and your relationship from having to meet the social expectations of other, which shouldn't be in your vicinity anyways. But women are social creatures. So a woman who can die a social death on her own, or is willing to die a social death when presented, that's definitely a woman for you, because she is further removed away from the world, in my opinion. She may live in the world, but she will rather live in your world more than others' world, because that's who you're in competition with when you're in a relationship with a woman who will not die a social death on her own, or is not willing to die a social death. That's just the way I see it. And this is not once again an absolute. This has just been tested, because I have escaped many situations with women who, like I said, either wanted to pretend or who were not a good match for me just because I held that standard. Though I have met a few women who are with the situation, they have offered themselves to be beneficial to my life at every turn of our interactions. So I think I'm on to something. Like I said, this is not an absolute. I'm still in the process of testing this out, and it's newly included into my life. Like for the past, I guess you can say, 6 or 7 years or so. But I've always been a polygamist. I just was too, I guess you can say, I was under the social pressure myself. I was too afraid to stand firm in what I believe a man should be and what a man should want. But that goes back to having principles for oneself and standing firm in those regardless of what the social pressures are. That goes for men too. You can't expect a woman to have the willingness to die a social death and you're not willing to do that yourself. You have to separate. You literally have to be separated yourself. And you literally, I mean, there are so many men who say, oh, I don't care what anybody says, but realistically they over there checking up on what other people saying about, right? I mean, of course there's some entertainment value to it, but that's kind of heartfelt to a lot of these dudes out here. I see you, believe me. So, you know, you should be willing to put yourself in that position before you expect it from anyone else, first off. But that's been my take on how I go about my vetting process and what I understand about it. I understand that a woman that is socially separated from the expectations of the world is more suited to be a submissive woman. And how I do that is via polygamy. Once again, even if I find this woman, there is not 100% guarantee that I would want multiple women. She just may be everything I need. But knowing me and knowing, you know, the structure of women, that's a very high expectation. It's not unrealistic, but it's a very high expectation. So I'm not going to burden somebody with a high expectation that is almost unrealistic to be all the time, because I require a woman to be a certain way when we have interactions, you know. Therefore, you know, if it's going to be her for the whole time, she needs to be damn near exceptional. But anyways, I've talked long enough. Like, comment, and share. If you guys like the video, let me know. If the music's too loud, let me know. I try to get the levels down. I'm still working this app. It's cool. I like it, but and it has a lot of features on it. But I'm still getting the intricacies down, because it didn't come with I guess you can say a tutorial at all. It's just a whole app, a whole production app that came with no tutorial. I'm pretty sure there's one somewhere, but I haven't found it. But anyways, this has been the Wolf in Beta Clothes. May you have a good day, and peace be with you.